Hey guys, this is Dr. Bartolomescu, the Medical Futurist, and welcome to the Medical Futurist live Q&A session. I'm so happy to see many of you here who I've met already in these live sessions. If you could share what city you are joining from, I would really appreciate it. It would be great to see how many people we have from different parts of the world. Just drop in a city in the comment section and we would see where we all are coming from. I'm joining you live from Budapest, Hungary, where I have been the last couple of months. I haven't traveled much this year, like many of you. The pandemic has shifted and changed many things that we think used to be normal. Now it's going to be a new normal. But a while ago, we shared 3 scenarios for 2021, and it seems that the optimistic scenario is becoming the one that's going to be reality, with the vaccine becoming real, and all those great news about vaccinating frontline workers and patients with chronic conditions. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So the first cities are coming in: San Francisco, Toronto, Mumbai, Cambridge, Switzerland, Serbia, India. Wow, Chevy Chase, Brighton, Budapest. Great, it's quite an international group. The goal of the next session is first that I can travel around the world, I can meet you in person, so I can only meet you in this way, virtually in these live Q&A sessions. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have about digital health, artificial intelligence, any of the research topics we share, we talk about at the Medical Futurist and at the Medical Futurist Institute. If you don't know me or my team, at the Medical Futurist we provide context around digital health and AI-related news, reports, studies, and announcements. We try to help individuals and organizations, medical associations, and globalized companies understand what's going on in healthcare and why digital health is a cultural transformation. And welcome guys from, I see, Tel Aviv, Tamil, India, Bangalore, The Hague, Netherlands, Timbuktu. Nice to see you guys. Again, I hope we will have a vibrant discussion. I prepared plenty of things for you, and I want to go through many of them. Plus, many of you sent questions already before the session. So we will start with those, and then I will switch to the live questions. I will do my best to answer anything. I'm not saying that I'm an expert of digital health investments, but I do keep quite a close eye on all those improvements and developments. Plus, we just came up with the Medical Futurist Guide to investing into digital health. And of course, that's the reason why we are here talking about this topic. You can find the book on leanpub.com. Our editor-in-chief is managing the comment section. Judith Cusco will answer some questions with links. If we have articles about the topics you ask about, or if I can't answer them in time, then she will share some links. But this is we will try to cover 4 major topics today. One is about digital health investments in general. The second is going to be the major technological trends we find exciting. The third is going to be about the major, most promising companies in this field. And the fourth will be about the method we use at the Medical Futurist to assess the quality of these companies and technologies. I just want to make sure you know that we don't accept sponsorships from companies. Our articles, analysis, and reviews are never impacted by advertisements or sponsorships. The only way you can support us so we can keep providing free content is either by buying these executive summaries on leanpub.com or by becoming a patron on patreon.com/themedicalfuturist. Patrons get different content from others, something we never publish anywhere else. But on every other channel, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, and on medicalfuturist.com, we will keep on publishing free analysis, reviews, articles, a lot of content for you, because we are trying to be helpful in the digital health space. So thank you so much for being with us today, and I'm looking forward to getting and receiving your questions. Just a tiny note, and those who watched me live on LinkedIn a few hours ago know this, but I want to make sure that you know what Futurists do, because I've been receiving questions about that recently, more than before. I don't know why. And I wanted to describe it to you through a very visual image here that our graphic designer Adam Moranchik made for us. You know exactly what archaeologists do. They look at fossils, they dig sites, they look at historical data, They analyze letters from the past, and then based on these pieces of information, they try to create visions about the past so we can better prepare for the next tasks and challenges ahead. We futurists whose life is, I mean, my professional life is being a futurist. It's not just a brand for what I do. We futurists do the same. We look at trends, analytics, data, technologies, announcements, and then we create visions about the future. We at the Medical Futurist, focusing on healthcare, we create visions about the desired scenarios for the future of healthcare and medicine. And then I think the most important part of my job is finding out how to fill the gap between that desired vision and the practical reality of today. And then we fight hard for new policies, for better regulations, for better studies, better evidence, or just a better understanding in general for patients and physicians about how to utilize the digital health technologies. I just wanted to get this out of the way so we can focus on digital health investments. Still, thank you so much for sharing where you are coming from. Paris, a lot of people from India, Romania. It's so great to see you all here. So welcome to the Medical Futurist channel. And let's dive into the first questions that we received before even the session started, a few minutes before that. Let's start with, okay, Russell Glover asked quite an exciting question. Here it is. What are the best remote patient monitoring devices? So he's not asking about services, but devices. I think the most important thing here is a good doctor-patient relationship based on trust. But if I have to name a few devices that would be useful, at least those that have been useful in my own health management, a smartwatch with an ECG function might come handy in cases. A tracker that can track your sleep, even maybe checking your blood oxygen levels during sleep, detecting sleep apnea in time is amazing. And maybe a tracker that would track physical activity. Of course, there are trackers or fitness smartwatches that can do all these in one. But if not, these three things are the parts of my fitness tracking that I find the most helpful, and also the ones that my primary care physician, Dr. Réka Vernes, has found helpful. But the one thing I really cherish here is the relationship I have with her, because we learn these new technologies together, and she uses her expertise in lifestyle medicine and primary care, and I use my insights from my lifestyle and health management and the data I measure through my devices to create a preventive plan, so I might have a chance, just a chance, for a longer and healthier life. All right. Wow, Pengali Herlambank asked a really important question that warms my heart whenever I hear this topic. What trends could happen in medical education in 2021? The reason why I'm so excited about this is that a report just came out today from Kaiser Permanente, a health provider in the US, talking about what kind of medical curriculum they have been working on. And they introduced the new expression, which I loved and even shared on my LinkedIn channel. It's webside. As a medical student back then, I learned things at the patient's bedside. Physicians taught me how to do physical examination, how to ask the right questions to patients. So learning at the patient's bedside is a crucial thing for a physician to be. But now physicians and students learn at the patient's website. They can only create a connection with patients through a digital channel, through an iPad, and they have to have the right communication skills to build a relationship based on trust, even through these means. So I think that's the biggest new thing in medical education, that now we have to teach medical students how to use these digital technologies and communication channels, because they have to build the same kind of trust and relationship with their patients, but the channels for communication are quite different, especially during the pandemic. Even after the pandemic, I think telemedicine will keep on being the new norm, but we might come back to that later on. Wow, thank you so much for the new questions. I'm switching to them now. First, Massimiliano Maloney, thank you for this thoughtful question. How much would you weigh the adoption of digital solutions in a certain country to measure business attractivity? Well, the way digital technologies can be implemented into a healthcare system very much depends on the system the country stands by. If your country's healthcare provider or insurance companies or government stand by the traditional system with old-time medical records and silos and keeping medicine to the point of care, then digital technologies don't have much of a choice or place in that system. But in countries like Germany, Israel, the US, the UK, Denmark, just a few examples that pop into my mind, where governments actively embrace the concept of digital health, in those countries, obviously, digital health startups have a better, more promising result or outcome. So unfortunately, it very much depends on the country's stance in digital health. Janet Hall, thank you for your question. I'm trying to copy paste it so you can read the question too. In the post-COVID world, do you think home health delivery will continue to grow? Are providers adopting telehealth applications in large numbers? Absolutely, that's the case. We've seen skyrocketing numbers. That's the case, literally. I mean, I've seen numbers from the region of Catalonia, a region from California, and I've seen numbers like 600% rise in the number of telehealth visits since March by month. So the numbers are increasing at a skyrocketing pace. And I think that it's interesting how you frame that question, home health delivery. I just call it digital health because the promise of digital health is making patients the point of care. And even before the pandemic, there was a big rise and shift towards technologies and companies that can make patients the point of care, bringing technologies, healthcare services, even lab tests to their homes. And because of the pandemic, obviously this shift has just become larger, and I don't think there's a way going back. If you see a patient who has a choice now, whether listening to the same 3 minutes long discussion about a lab test result or a question the patient had in person with their medical professional, by traveling to a point of care, waiting in line, meeting other patients with different conditions, being exposed to infections, and then traveling back, or doing the same, spending the same amount of time through a virtual digital channel, they will never go back. That's why I stand by my statement that telemedicine is the new norm, and we should all get used to it. Physicians should learn the new tricks about using it, and we patients should learn the viable expectations we can have about using telemedicine, because the core element of practicing medicine will always be the doctor-patient relationship. And if we cannot build one through remote care services, then we are doomed. So it's not about replacing the in-person visits. It's about supporting them with a means that is comfortable for everyone. So thank you for the question. Mask 4500 it's a very strange name, I hope you are not an AI. Interested in the method you use for identifying the top digital health investments, as you referenced in the beginning. This is the fourth part, and of course we can dive into it right away. I want this discussion to be controlled by your questions, not the way I try to come up with a flow of topics one after the other. We do analyze companies, startups, and technologies. We don't we are not so interested in investments per se, even though when we think a company, a technology is promising, I assume there's a bigger chance for investment that way. So I can only tell you how we assess these technologies and companies, because we assess a lot. We receive about 50 per week, 50 new submissions about algorithms, devices, apps, startups, companies in general. And all of them are in digital health, so we don't even have to rule them out for being related to other industries. All of them are digital health related, and still we only write about 1 or 2 per week. So one of the things we do is that I always tell companies that I'm not interested in your investment rounds or collaboration, partnerships, announcements. I'm interested in 2 things: your patient stories coming from patients and your evidence-based background, peer-reviewed studies where you published the results of someone using your technology. Even these are tricky, but at least these give a good picture about what we are the most interested in. We check the companies behind the technologies, what kind of things they have developed, what kind of industry they are coming from, whether they have medical people in the team. I mean, you can be amazing technologists and inventors and engineers, but if you want to implement something into a clinical medical setting, you need the medical background. At least someone needs to have a medical background in the team. Otherwise, they won't be able to come up with anything viable. Just one silly example. If you develop an amazing virtual reality-based headset for medical use, and you don't think about the practical reality that as different patients will use that, the device we have to be able to clean the device and disinfect it, and the device is not capable of doing that or allowing us to do that with it, then we won't be able to use it in a clinical setting. But if there is someone with a medical background, a nurse, a medical professional, anybody like that, they will come up with this idea immediately because they know clinical reality. So we check that. We check studies behind the companies. And it's a tricky issue because what if there's a great company with a product we find promising and they do have a peer-reviewed study, but the study was published by authors financed by the company? I mean, if the paper is published in a good medical journal, they still have to go through peer review, but they are still financed by the company. So they cannot be totally objective scientifically. And then I'm not saying it makes the paper unusable for us, but I have doubts about the clinical efficiency of the device and the results. That's one thing we have to keep in mind. We check the communication of the company, how transparent they are, how they deal with their customers or just general consumers who are interested in the product. We are interested in the approvals they get from regulatory agencies. Like if there is a device approved by the FDA, it means good for people in the US. But for people in Europe, it's a good sign, but it doesn't mean anything. We need the European Medicines Agency to approve the medical technology. So we have to look at approvals from CE, the European Medicines Agency, FDA. We look at the opinions from medical professionals who use the device or patient groups who are quite loud in the social media space. So I think I stop here because there are many more details in the ebook, but these are the three major things we do when we try to assess the quality of a medical technology or company. All right. Ritesh Sahu has a great question. It's not so much related to investments, but I guess it's related to everyone. How can we increase lifespan by using AI? Well, the AI we have today is only artificial narrow intelligence. It means it's capable of performing one very well-defined single task, but nothing else, nothing complex. But still, I can imagine using artificial narrow intelligence for making better diagnosis about very much specified issues or problems. I can imagine using AI for predicting public health outbreaks, such as the outbreak in Wuhan that was predicted first by a Canadian AI startup and not the WHO. I can imagine AI trying to make general conclusions from the myriad of health data that I obtain through my medical technologies. I mean, not even my physician can do that. And of course, I cannot do that. So what if an AI could look at my genomic profile from my whole genome sequencing report, my fitness smartwatch data, the ECGs it measures once in a while, and just come up with suggestions about maybe I want to check this out, or I want to get a preventive measure about this or that. I think that's how AI could help increase lifespan. All right. Wow, thank you so much for keeping the questions flowing in. I'm trying to address all of them. What a nice question. Camilla Chen, thank you for asking this thoughtful question. What aspect of the face-to-face interaction with doctors and patients cannot be replaced by digital health? First of all, we have to say out loud that, and actually studies said it out loud, that the physical examination is overrated. We don't need it as often as we used to think. I think the one thing that cannot get replaced by digital channels is trust. Maybe you're a physician, I'm a patient, we meet online for the first time, maybe we keep on meeting here. It's still not the same as meeting you in person, of having the chance to sit down with you, or even just for a couple of minutes, talk about my health issues. I want to feel the empathy in person. But I do believe that for the vast majority of health issues, I don't need to see you in person. I can just drop the information to you, and whenever you have a chance, you can drop the result, the answer, the information back to me. And I think the most human parts of the doctor-patient relationship are the ones that cannot get replaced by digital health. Trust, empathy, attention, compassionate care, or at least First, it should be established in person, and then we can support it through digital health channels too. All right. Oh, what a nice question coming from a medical professional. It's from Sheng Chu. Nice to meet you here. I'm a medical doctor, and so I know how an ECG electrode works, but how does a smartwatch work in detecting arrhythmias? How sensitive would it be? These algorithms work the same way you do when you analyze ECGs. I'm not even sure that most physicians who are very good at detecting health problems on an ECG knows in details about how ECG works electrophysiologically, but they can still look at the algorithm, they can still look at the graph and make very good medical decisions based on that. Algorithms do the same. You feed them with ECGs where physicians assign medical diagnosis, and the more ECGs with medical diagnosis you feed the AI with, the better the algorithm will become. That's it. It doesn't understand ECG, it doesn't understand the electrophysiological basics, but it knows to make medical decisions based on the ECG as much as physicians do, who fed the data into the AI system. So it might sound strange, say out loud, that these algorithms have zero IQ, but they can still make very good medical decisions because they can analyze millions of ECGs in the morning, while even the most experienced physicians might analyze 1 million ECGs in a lifetime. We cannot compete with that. So, thank you for the great question. As we are talking about investment, I want to share just one thing with you for a second before diving into the remaining questions. The reason why we had this ebook is that digital health investments are skyrocketing. Rock Health is an amazing place if you look for news about digital health investments. And they published this quarter this graph about the last 9 or 10 years or so. And in the third quarter of 2020, we had the record-setting number of investment, $9.4 billion, just in digital health-based startups and companies. This is astonishing. And of course, 2020 will be a record-setting year. I think it would have been one without the pandemic, but the pandemic has just made this shift even stronger. So in 2021, we can expect even more investments flowing into, I think, technologies based on at-home lab tests, telemedicine, AI medical diagnostics, virtual reality, those services that had a huge boost because of the pandemic and because of how now doctor-patient meetings take place. I just wanted to share briefly this with you because we also have to talk about money here, because this ebook is about investments into digital health. Wow, Paolo Rovatti, who's also a patron on patreon.com, nice to see you here, has a great question about telehealth services. Do you believe that the most probable obstacles to the broader adoption of telehealth is coming from patient, physicians, or admins, clinics? Well, there is a rejection kind of obstacle here. I call it the 3 R's, the three R problems of telehealth. There is a rejection from medical professionals individually. If you don't prepare someone in the medical curriculum for working with AI, digital health devices, or telehealth, they will have a hard time accepting that this is the new norm. So there is an obviously understandable individual rejection coming from physicians. There is a lack of regulation issue, because if you don't provide good enough incentives for physicians to answer medical questions through telehealth, they won't be so open to using it. It's their precious time, so they have to be rewarded for including it in their normal work routine. And the third R is rejection, regulation, and resistance. Resistance in the general term, because it goes across populations. That there's a resistance towards advanced technologies. I always say that digital health is a cultural transformation. And it means that while it is being driven by digital health advanced technologies, but the real element, the real driving force behind it is cultural. The way the doctor-patient relationship is becoming an equal level partnership is more important than which fitness tracker comes out next year. So because of the cultural transformation taking time, I don't see it happening so fast. That's why there is a general resistance against these technologies. So maybe these are the major 3 obstacles when it comes to adopting telehealth. Thank you, Paolo, for the great question. Jorge Cardona has a great question about something I have no experience in. I want to share the question with you because I want to make sure you understand that I don't come from the financing background of the digital health space. So I don't have experience with financial tools, but I do have experience with investors who are trying to come up with strong statements about the future. I don't want to name anybody, but there is a very famous investor in the Silicon Valley who said in 2016 that radiology as a medical specialty would be obsolete in 5 years. So by next year, radiology should be obsolete, which means the specialty shouldn't exist by today. Of course it does, and it will for decades. I know about how these investors assess the quality of digital health startups, and I'm not impressed by those, but I am impressed by some media channels and groups of editors across the world who have no incentives in overhyping technologies, but they want to provide good reports. I'm talking about sites like medgadget.com, mobihealthnews.com, medicalfuturist.com. We are trying to be one of those. If I look at these sites, I think I get better financial assessment about these startups than if I looked at investors and their opinions. Wow, Rexful had a question about big tech startups. How will tech giants reshape the landscape of digital health? Will they directly compete with big pharma? What an amazing question. Plus, we have a great ebook about big tech marching into healthcare. Yes, I do believe that big tech companies have an amazing space and place in digital health. The reason why is that many of the things we would love to use now are technologies, and those technologies are not based on a healthcare background. So healthcare and pharma companies have not been able to provide those tools for us, but big tech companies can make it happen, because big tech companies are good at one thing: providing devices and apps that people want to use. Healthcare companies are awful at the user experience, simply awful. So I believe in the notion that big tech companies will keep on providing good techs, devices, sensors, apps, and healthcare and pharma companies will provide the background needed for implementing those technologies into the actual reality of patients' lives or the clinical setting. And I think not in providing medications, but in providing technologies that can be joined together or grouped together with medications is a way that these big tech companies can compete with big pharma. So that's why we see now these jackpot packages of a medication packaged with an application on a smartphone that can provide better compliance in general. All right. Next question. And thank you so much to Judith, our editor-in-chief, for providing links to all of you. While there are questions I just cannot answer in time, and there are so many coming in. Thank you so much for these great questions. Let's see. Richard Zeng asked a question about empathy, and that's when I saw the word empathy, I already added the question. I couldn't even read it for now. So I touched upon the issue of empathy. What do you see as the future of empathetic medical AI? Are people thinking about it? How do we make AI more empathetic? It's a very tricky question. If you asked about compassionate care or the ethical issues of AI, I would have a different answer for that, but you asked about empathy. And empathy is reflective. So you cannot make sure that you say the right words so you will provide empathy for me, but I can only feel empathy on you. It's a reflective type of feeling. And if I know that you don't want to provide empathy for me, even though you are saying the right words, I won't feel empathy. That's how simply it works. So when it comes to AI, an AI might say the right words I need to hear in that vulnerable moment of, getting a diagnosis, for example, but I will know it's an AI, so I won't feel empathy per se. And that's why I'm not sure if that's the direction for most developers in the AI field, to make their AI more empathetic. What they are struggling about now is just making AI to be able to have a general flow of conversation, to improve on the natural language processing units. And if they can do it, if they can make it happen, I think that's good enough for most patients and physicians using these AI. But I don't see how AI can be more empathetic because of, again, how patients feel this is being a reflective feeling. What do we, Ida Folman? Nice, welcome to the channel, and thank you for the question. What do we think about the new AI symptoms applications to Babylon and Telehealth in rural areas like Africa? There are two different questions. There is a study came out yesterday in a high-level medical journal, so I think it was BMG Open, where they compared 8 symptom checker chatbots, including Babylon Health and Other Health, among others. I think it's a very important groundbreaking work, and it shows how different these chatbots are. And I think authors concluded that these chatbots are not comparable to primary care physicians' communication skills, but they can be very useful in certain settings, including in settings where you just cannot provide care in person. We at the Medical Futurist wrote about Rwanda as being one of those prominent examples of a country where they had to take a leap into digital health. And they do use Babylon Health's chatbot. They do provide telemedicine for 60% of the population. They use AI in medical record systems. So they turn to these chatbots because they had no other choice. In that respect, I think these chatbots have an amazing place in their healthcare systems. For countries with more traditional healthcare background, I think it can be still useful. I mean, chatbots can be still useful if patients have to wait for a medical appointment for days or weeks. And in the meantime, it can be like a supportive tool to make the waiting time a bit more comfortable, bearable, until they meet their physicians face to face. I've seen examples for that in patients who had depression-like symptoms, and they had to wait weeks for meeting a medical professional in person. But a chatbot could just help them, keep them active and obtain some information that could be even used in the first face-to-face visit. So that's how we look at these chatbot-based applications. Oh, what an amazing question from Raymond K. No, this way. So what was the most surprising for you about digital health investments? I'm the most surprised when a startup breaks my heart. When I see something that's promising, when I see something out of science fiction with a strong scientific background, with a sound clinical idea that meets a real life patient need or clinical need, and then something goes berserk, like they have business management issues. They fail to live up to the expectation of investors. I'm not talking about scientific problems or technological or engineering issues. I'm talking about management issues. I'm always surprised when something good turns out to be impossible to make because of management or investment issues. My favorite example for that, and it's also one of the stories in the ebook, is about Proteus Health, the company making digital pills a reality. And when they went bankrupt earlier this year, I immediately was very loud saying that, guys, it's about a business issue, a company issue. It's not about the technology not being viable for the market, and other companies will make it happen. There is evidence for that in the studies. And since then, companies have come out, and like companies like EtectRx, they have been showing that it's indeed a viable technology, but Proteus Health couldn't live up to the expectation their investors had. It was a unicorn company with billions of dollars of investments in the background, and they crushed under that pressure. I'm always surprised and heartbroken by these stories. All right. Jose Quintini has a question that's not so related about investments, and I'm more than happy answering questions like that. We just want to go back to investments after that. So in line with previous questions, would you let an AI algorithm triage patients with no human supervision? It's a tricky question because of course not. The answer is no, unless in the evaluation period, human supervision was provided and the AI algorithm was evaluated and accepted and cross-checked by humans. But then if that's the case, I would allow that AI algorithm to triage patients without human supervision from that point. Just the way the FDA approves AI-based medical technologies. They check it once, And if the company behind them is viable and reliable, if the algorithm is good enough, then they won't check the next iterations. Of course, if it's an adaptive algorithm, it will change with data. Then from time to time, you have to cross-check it again. But otherwise, yes, I would have that much trust in an algorithm supervised by humans first. So thank you for the question. Jim the Jager or Jager, I'm sorry for pronouncing your names wrong. I have the wrongest, the most awful name in the world, so I'm sorry about that. But there's a good question about what future trends do you see in health prevention and personalization? It's a bit related to investments too. I would very much love to see companies developing products or services that would merge my data coming from different silos. One coming from my genomic report, from my whole genome sequencing service, one coming from the calorie counter application where I input what kind of food I have every day, and one coming from the medication sensitivity and microbiome test I had with a different service. I would love to get like insights, recommendations by merging these silos of data. And I'm the most excited about those future products and services because this is going to be the ultimate personalization and prevention when these services and the data coming from them can be merged together so I can learn even more through my medical professional's advice. All right. I think I'm checking even the questions you asked before. Okay. Okay. Wow, Massimiliano Maloney had another question about investment trends. So, what do you believe has been the most successful example of digital health solutions, possibly AI-related digital biomarker that industry can get inspired by and why? That's a good question. The thing I'm the most excited about these days is the ECG functionality of smartwatches. That was the clinical trial I talked about before in California, running an in silico clinical trial with patients wearing their smartwatches with the ECG function turned on. This way, someone sitting behind a dashboard can look at the data live and can make even better decisions about whether approving a medication, a treatment, a process faster than before, in the span of weeks instead of years. That's amazing. In digital biomarkers, I've seen some insightful studies, but I haven't seen the ones I would be really excited about. Maybe those apps that help you analyze your skin lesions with artificial intelligence, but I'm not even sure it's a digital biomarker per se. But those are very promising, yet I have only seen studies about those apps financed by the companies themselves, and I have doubts, as I mentioned before, in those cases. But I assume that ECG will be one of the first digital biomarkers for very specific purposes, detecting atrial fibrillation, AFib, for detecting stroke risk. So not ECG in general, but one channel ECGs or two channel ECGs for detecting AFib might be the breakthrough in that space. Well, okay, it's a question coming from Camille Chen. What kind of new digital healthcare are you expecting to see in the next 5 to 10 years? I hope even sooner than that, but I expect patients to become the most important players in this system. Patients haven't been invited to the table for hundreds of years. They are the most underused resource in healthcare. So I think with them, we have a new kind of healthcare already. I expect technologies that make patients the point of care becoming the new norm. At-home lab tests, telemedicine, health sensors we can wear through digital tattoos or smartwatches, digital biomarkers that can help us detect diseases early or prevent them from happening. This is, I think, a healthcare new enough, but in general, I want healthcare to shift the point of care from physical locations of hospitals and practices to wherever the patients are. This is going to be the biggest milestone or change in the history of medicine, in my opinion. Riceful has another question about an investment issue. Genome Engineering. No, not yet. Not yet. And now, Genome Engineering looks like a new heaven for investors. Any thoughts? It looks like one, the Nobel Prize was just awarded for that discovery. Although maybe in gene therapies, these might have an investment opportunity, but not in biohacking like many people thought before. Biohacking is so dangerous. It might have such long medical consequences that I don't see CRISPR being an investment opportunity in digital health when patients have a chance to use the technology themselves. But for pharma companies and biotech companies, there is no question that it has great potentials. All right, I wanted to just show you briefly another thing we included in the ebook, in the Medical Futurist Guide to Investing in Digital Health. This is the infographic of the top 100 companies in digital health in 2020. We struggled so much with creating this infographic, not only because it was so hard to choose these companies out of the more than 1,000 we keep an eye on. And of course, there are some companies we couldn't include, which are still great and viable, but we thought that these 100 companies are the most promising ones for us at the Medical Futurist. You can see that there are some overlapping categories here. Like in this case, green means that these companies are involved in digital health devices industry as well as health management. These here are involved in artificial intelligence and health management, or remote care and health management, or education and virtual reality. So there are many overlapping categories. And of course, you can find the list of these companies with the infographic in the executive summary too. So feel free to check it out. There is a question from Paolo Rovatti. Let me share the question with you. Do you believe that a wider adoption of telehealth could pave the way to a massive rollout of remote patient management systems once the channel patient-doctor is consolidated? I'm afraid the question implies that this is going to happen through providers or insurance companies or health governments. And I think as a patient, I will make it happen faster in my country than how my country would make it happen for me. I know it's not ideal, but this wider adoption comes from us patients. When we see we have a choice and that choice is better than what we used to have, we never go back. And I will demand my physician to provide me with the chance to use telehealth services. But of course, if the adoption rates are better, then it's easier for government to adopt these technologies. But I think if the pandemic has given any chance for anything, that's for governments to realize how cost effective it is to focus on telehealth services instead of in-person care in most cases, and when it's possible. In not every medical case it's possible not to have in-person meetings. So then maybe they see this chance now and they will thrive upon it in the near future. Gohar Raman has a great investment question, although I'm not sure if it's specific enough. Maybe I'm not able to answer that properly. What your views about investing into invest or start up a healthcare software company? If the question is about whether to invest into a software or hardware company, or whether to invest into a healthcare software or other kind of software company, then of course the most exciting thing these days is software companies in digital health. Companies developing algorithms that can lead to better medical decisions, better support for medical professionals, better management of data for patients, managing chronic conditions. These are the absolute most attractive areas of investment. So if I had to choose just one, then that would be a company using AI for a very well-defined clinical medical purpose. Not a company claiming to use AI that only uses an Excel spreadsheet, a company using real artificial narrow intelligence, and again, for a very well-specified medical or clinical outcome. Then that would be attractive enough for me to invest into it. Would you invest into a digital health field? It would be tricky for me, being the medical futurist. As a researcher, I have to be objective. So I haven't invested in digital health companies. I'm not saying I will never. I'm just saying that it's going to be tricky about conflicts of interest. I would invest into companies that use some form of AI, and at the same time allow patients to contribute with their data, like companies analyzing skin lesions, companies that merge these different services and silos of data together. I guess these would be the companies I would invest in first. What an amazing question coming from Camilla Chen. This is a very sensitive topic, and I know it's very important to many of us. Inequality and what happens when a patient cannot buy a smartwatch, a health sensor, a genomic test. It does happen. I have to note that though, that the price of all these technologies has been falling down for years. I have to note that there are services where we can send in the fitness trackers we don't use anymore, and they distribute it to countries with lower, average income. There are services that do not require expensive hardware, just a good software or a simple mobile phone in mobile health and digital health. So there are good steps forward in these fields, but if I only think about the vaccine rollout now, and I know how hard it is to get the vaccine, and I see that how richer countries already grabbed hundreds of millions of vaccines, it's going to be so hard for lower income countries to get the vaccines. And we don't even talk about AI or digital health devices. This is an existing issue, and I can't tell you that I will tell you the right solutions for that. But the trend is that if the driving force, the business driving force for companies developing these technologies and services is strong enough, we buy the service who can, then the price will go down. And that's the trend we've seen for the last couple of years too. MacDeep has a great question, quite a broad question, actually. Which companies are developing algorithms for digital health? I just go back to this infographic here and I dive into artificial intelligence. You can see many examples. All of these within the brown circle are digital health companies focusing on artificial intelligence. Great companies with a medical background. They have algorithms approved by the FDA. So these are amazing examples, just some. But we also have an article on medicalfuturist.com about some of the companies in AI and digital health we keep a close eye on. All right. And we have a few questions that were sent to us before, and I won't be able to copy paste them into you. So just read the question out loud and try to answer as fast as I can. Who are the best health technology social impact investors we should know about? I don't know. I only know one investor you should follow, who used to be one of the best digital health reporters out there, Christina Farr from CNBC. Now she left her job to become a full-time investor. So Christina Farr is a great person to follow. Where do you see digital health technologies after the pandemic, and how would it change healthcare in general? Telemedicine will be the new norm. At-home lab tests will be the new norm, and we will never go back to the old normal because you don't want to. Again, when you see there is a choice, you don't go back. When do you think a global data availability is realistic? All health data systems currently were designed assuming one would live in one country, but life is becoming global, and we find ourselves doing the same routine when we change countries. What an amazing point. I do think healthcare is becoming globalized. I do think that might be a strong statement here, but I do think that the healthcare I can provide for myself through the access to digital health gives me a better chance for a longer and healthier life than the healthcare my country can provide for me, without naming the country. I know it's a strong statement, but I do believe that I have a better chance through that. I just want my country to support my notions and my ideas by doing that. What is the most common reason you've seen that leads to digital health company failing? Business management issues, Proteus Health, being a scam, Theranos, everyone knows the story now. Not providing a technology or device or service that meets a real life patient or clinical need, just doing something because it looks attractive enough for investors. Not providing enough medical evidence, not publishing their results in peer-reviewed studies, and this way medical professionals cannot implement them. Maybe these four. I'm very concerned about the effects of electromagnetic radiation on the human condition. How can we best protect ourselves? That's a great point. When we checked, we had a video about 5G. And of course, I started with checking the data, the studies behind the radiation issue of 5G. We couldn't find enough evidence supporting the notion that it is harmful for humans. It is harmful biologically, but in much higher dosages. And that's just not the case with 5G towers. So in the case of 5G, I don't know about such evidence supporting that notion. Thus, I don't know about such evidence in that case either. How can we ensure quality measures are met with digital health? Through evidence-based medicine. That's an easy one. If you have a digital health solution and you can provide evidence-based background for that, you can publish your results in peer-reviewed studies, not made by researchers financed by you, but by independent researchers. Everyone will accept your technology, service, or device. That's how simply the medical community works. Are there funds focused on digital health companies? Absolutely. There are great incubators like Rock Health, Startup, Healthy Startup, and also there is the European, the EIT Health. They are an amazing organization in Europe providing such funds for digital health companies. Okay, I go back to the live questions. There are always great questions about career options. I'm not good at providing career choices here, but what medical specialty would you recommend to medical students deciding which specialty to pursue? Whatever you are interested in. If you love technology, I would choose a medical specialty that will be impacted by automation in a way that your expertise in that field will be needed too. If you prefer, interactions with patients, I would choose a medical specialty that will not be that much affected by automation. We have, of course, an analysis and infographic about that on medicalfuturist.com. When a company claims to use AI, what questions you want answered? What an amazing question. Thank you so much. Reichsfull, thank you for the great question. We did that with the paper we published about FDA-approved medical technologies, and we in fact looked for the official FDA document, and we wanted to see that the company claimed that they either used artificial intelligence or they used the expressions machine learning or deep learning or neural networks somewhere in the document discussing their work. If an algorithm doesn't use machine learning, it cannot be considered artificial intelligence. A lot of algorithms are not AI, but every machine learning algorithm is falling under AI. We will publish an article about that next week on medicalfuturist.com about the line between a simple algorithm and artificial intelligence and its implications for knowing that line for medicine and healthcare. So stay tuned for the article on medicalfuturist.com. So guys, I think we are running out of time here. Thank you so much for the amazing questions. Just for a last second, I want to show you the ebook we came up with, Invest in Digital Health, the Medical Futurist Guide. In that guide, we have again described the investment space in digital health, why to invest into it, the differences between health IT and digital health, 24 technological trends we would invest into, the good ones, the bad examples about investments, and the top 100 digital health companies. Besides the method we use at the Medical Futurist to assess the quality of technologies and organizations and new devices and services. We also have an article about that on medicalfuturist.com about the 5 things we learned while writing that ebook. And we will keep on providing you with all the reports, analysis, everything on our channels on medicalfuturist.com, on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. And we do it for free. But if you want to support us, then you can do it by becoming a patron on patreon.com/themedicalfuturist. And if I can ask you one last thing here in the last final minutes, I know 2020 has been quite a tricky year for all of us, a very challenging, very awful year from every perspective. But if you had to assign a score between 1 and 10 to 2021, 1 being as awful as 2020 was, 10 being the best year ever, what score would you give to 2021? How about your hopes? I want to see how you are thinking about the next year now that the vaccines are being rolled out and there might be light at the end of the tunnel. What is your score between 1 and 10? 1 being the as awful as 2020 to 10 being the best year ever for 2021. I would really love to see how you think about that. I tell you mine is 7. I'm not saying I'm overly optimistic, but I see hope that if we listen to medicine and science, then we have a chance to create a new normal. So it's 4, 5, 8. It's not a pessimistic group at all. I'm happy to see that. 6, okay, 6. It's a cautiously optimistic group. 4, okay. We can say out loud that when the year ends, things will not miraculously become better by 2021, but there are some good signs. 8, so we are shifting towards the optimistic scale. 10, change is hard, but this is the new normal. I love it, Vanya Ivovic. 9, I'm so glad to see that you are that optimistic about the future. I might even have to change my score from 7 to 8. So thank you again for being here. In this new studio, we will have a chance to provide you with more videos, more in-depth analysis, more live Q&As. So I'm looking forward to the next live discussions with you from in the new year. We will have many more of these about different topics, from using digital health sensors for lifestyle management to sleep tracking, artificial intelligence, quantum computing. We have so many topics planned ahead for you, but we cannot do it without you. So I want to say that we cherish your participation in these live sessions. Thank you so much for the amazing questions, for being here with us, for supporting the Medical Futurist. And in the name of the whole Medical Futurist group, all those 12 dedicated creative individuals, I want to thank you for your support in the entire year. And we are more than pumped for 2021. And I hope to see you in the next live Q&A session early January. So happy holidays, have a great rest, and let's prepare for the new year. Thank you again. Bye.